Hello everyone, Revan619 here. Lex Imperialis is just around the corner. The announcement date for the release is going to be with us this month, so I'm assuming it's going to be in a month's time from about when they let us know. We started seeing some hints at the new archetypes, new origins, and what to expect from enemies with the promotional artwork that's being released. 1.4 has been confirmed will begin development for some balance changes and possibly some character adjustments. It's been confirmed by Starrick, and they'll be looking at to do that after the DLC drops. With that in mind, I wanted to take a look back at DLC 1 and decide who we think really won the DLC and the balance patch that came with it, which was 1.3. So I'm going to go through each companion and sort of talk about the adjustments that came with them, what we saw with 1.3, and where we think we've placed sort of what they gained, what they lost, with that in mind. So, starting off with Ablard. In this DLC, Ablard gained Rock Swords, which is a huge buff. It's very strong with Malpain Shroud usage, which he's now one of two companions. Previously, he was the only companion who could really use this. And what it allows him to do is have very high base damage with burst fire attacks for melee, which is very, very strong. Vanguard did see some slight nerfs. Assassin didn't get the buffs it needed, but with Rock Swords, it was a huge buff in itself because Killing Edge can now multi-hit. Arc Militant was still very strong and still had access to it, and obviously we got the new Executioner class that when you stack Medicae, you can increase your damage a lot, and it can generate a lot of temp wounds with Malpain Shroud. So yeah, Ablard's build itself, I wouldn't say needed changing. If you were already using the Arc Militant or Vanguard, it's still just as strong. But you can now have that secondary slot Rock Swords. So it's very hard to think where we want to place him, because realistically you don't need to change him, but Rock Swords do make a very impressive boost. So he's right up there with this DLC did him good. Though he doesn't really need to use Executioner. The tools that he uses for his other classes, archetypes did get stronger. But we don't really need to change anything. But you will still just get a free item, so it's just a free boost. So that's no top tier for what he's being given here. Next up, we're going to look at Idira. So Idira got an entire new archetype in Executioner, and it gave her the option to build a completely gunslinger-based ranged Executioner archetype. Yes, ranged Executioner is definitely weaker than melee Executioner, but it's very usable. So things that she's gained from it can either be argued would make it top tier, but I don't think anything that she got new is usable. In fact, my build is still the exact same from 1.2 before the DLC as to afterwards. So I would say Idira is top tier, but she doesn't require any changes. So she didn't actually gain that much from DLC. Yes, you have an entirely new playstyle possible, but I would say a gunslinger Executioner using dual pistols for multi-attack is going to be less useful on Idira than having her as a bounty hunter that then loops your turns, or even as a grand strategist to go first just to buff. So let's look at Cassia. She got nothing from the DLC, absolutely nothing. But the Cassia was already the strongest support companion in the game, so while she didn't gain anything from DLC, she didn't lose anything, nor did she lose her place as probably one of the two best companions. So no new support, no changes required, but she is still top tier. So where she didn't gain anything from DLC, she didn't really lose anything. So overall, she's still in a very strong place. Looking to Argenta, Argenta again didn't really gain anything from DLC. She didn't get any new archetypes, she didn't get any new support. You do have an Act 1 heavy gun now, but the benefits of heavy guns come more into Act 2 once you can get those talents that are locked behind level 15, which is Breaking Point and Overpower. So while she did get new support, she doesn't really use it and it doesn't affect it. She's still a good mid-tier character before she was top tier, but the power creep in this DLC has actually definitely brought her down. Whereas Ablard got noticeably stronger, he still holds that spot where he was. Idira had a lot given to her, which you can choose to use or choose not to use, but she's still very strong. The team didn't drop down. Then you have Cassia, didn't gain anything, but her position didn't change at all. Argenta, however, gained one item opportunity, but her viability in the team drastically drops because of what else came with DLC. This in name being Kibella. So Kibella, entirely new character. Her origin, terrible. Her homeworld, terrible. However, still one of the strongest companions in the game, if not the second strongest one. In combat terms, outside of buff terms, I'd still say that Cassia is better than her. However, Blade Dancer is so strong and so front-loaded that it can allow you to one-turn entire encounters from Act 2 onwards, so as soon as you hit Footfall, you can be one-turning encounters when using her correctly. She's also got the ability to solo carry the entire team. She has high mobility, high damage, high armor, has the ability to crazy stack into Executioner, can use Drukhari weapons into that. Her Blade Dance adds a burst fire. All of her melee buffs actually apply to Roxor, so you can secondary Roxor as well as keep her main mechanics with the two twin blades. Yeah, when it comes to just pure damage, Blade Dancer is objectively the best melee class in the game and the strongest straight up. Warrior has been sort of pushed back a little bit, where it's now more of a defensive melee orientated archetype, so now you'll actually focus the build slightly different. But yeah, no, she's damn strong. So let's look at the rest. So first you might look at Pascal and be like, meh, because he didn't really gain anything. But however, Missionary Oath does creep him up to here. So Missionary Oath gave him another build option. So with Pascal, I'd previously used him as a bounty hunter to loop turns and to apply extra debuffs and then slowly ramp up his damage. However, with the new Act 1 Missionary Oath, one of the options that this little fella has is, as a grand strategist, you can just sit him at the front and then you just give everyone 1 AP turn and a little bit of movement. It skips his turn, but then you get 5 more attacks from your comrades. When you get to the Exemplar upgrades, you can add the bonuses for extra damage, you can add the bonuses for more AP, so essentially you give a free bring it down to the party, skipping the entire turn order. So that's 5 free bring it downs. That's really good. I still wouldn't say he's top tier, but it's definitely really strong for him. Yeah, it changes how you can use Pascal, adds a new option. I still prefer the Bounty Hunter setup because of the way that I play, but other people, they're going to find this to be a massive increase, especially if they didn't know what to do with Pascal to begin with. Yeah, it's going to be very useful. Next up, Heinrix. Yeah, this guy, he went from me thinking, like, why is he even really on the team, to, yeah, no, he's the best companion. Like, strong, so damn strong. As a pyromancer executioner, you can use his biomancy to get toxin, you can use dogmatic 2 to get burning, you get bleed naturally, and he also gets access to Roxors. Roxors are a multi-hit, which allows him to proc all of his force repentance multiple times. You can use the Temperis Elite Carapace Backpack to change a 4-hit burst fire to a 12-hit burst fire. Each time we'll apply the dots, each dot will stack the last, constantly increasing his damage. His melee stats will apply to Roxor from Warrior. Executioner will use armor stripping and debuffs to increase its damage via Medicae. He can gain Medicae on kill with certain items. Kills themselves can reset his charges, so a melee kill will actually give him a free 0 AP charge, which means he can infinitely attack and move and just shred the entire battlefield. Psyfocus also, yeah, it's still very good and usable with that. Funny enough, assassins using Psyfocus can apply to Killing Edge, so Roxor attacks on Killing Edge will actually apply to Psyfocus. So if you build him as an assassin, huge damage. If you build him as an executioner, huge damage. With the new 4 swords, if you go Vanguard or even Arc Militant, like the Veil Render sword and stuff, huge damage. No matter what setup you do, this man is viable and he is going to be the top damage when built correctly. Yes, the spreadsheet that I used to build is going to be linked below. Yes, I have a few live streams as well as video guides for each of these builds. And yes, when DLC 2 drops, I'm going to have a lot more stuff for that. But no, Heinrix got a lot, my guys. So next we're going to look at Jay. So Jay was already very strong. Jay had her Cold Trader thing, which is in itself fantastic, but she also gained a new medium armor that allows her to stack armor based on Lore Imperium. This means Jay is now possibly can be built as a very effective Vanguard officer. She can be your frontline tank with her guns. Yep, no, she's fantastic. She still has the bad upgrade for Finest Hour, but she's now really strong. She can have armor and dodge into the hundreds no matter what she does as an officer. I still like to build her as a master tactician because then she can get extra buffs along with her officer buffs to allies. Her homeworld is ideal for it. Her origin is combat based, so enhanced master tactician. She is one of the much stronger companions. In fact, you can entirely use her to replace Pascal on your team to cover checks. Good. So let's look at Uralid. I make no secret that I don't like these last three companions. I feel like item limits have made them a little bit worse. But what the DLC, whilst it didn't give her anything new, the 1.3 balance patch removed a lot of item restrictions, meaning that she now has full access to accessories, which make her really, really good. She can't use the burst fire accessories, but she can still be built for an execution and use burst fire, which is very, very strong. She can use Trukari weapons for that to get those ranged toxin added to it. She can also be using a lot of support items that she didn't previously had access to. So yeah, no, Uralid actually had a big boost. So whilst she's not as good as Jay, she did actually get more than Jay and Pascal. So as a character, I would say she's lower on the tiers, but it definitely increased her usability a lot. So I'd say that Uralid got a lot more from the 1.3 balance patch than, say, Pascal Jay did from the DLC. So yeah, no, this is a big increase for her. So as you can tell by looking at me, as a man covered in many runes and tattoos and even some wolves himself, I like Norse things, I like wolves, I should really, really like space wolves. Ulfa, I really like as a character, not gonna lie. However, he's not implemented well. Ulfa has the stats of a warrior on a soldier, and none of the items that make soldiers good. The problem that this has, dear viewers, is that means that people on lower difficulties think Ulfa's great, he's a tank, you can just be in there, be a soldier, be tanking. I don't play on lower difficulties, I play on unfair. For me, Ulfa dies in one shot if he's up front. Like, there are certain enemies in Act 2 that will literally one-shot him with full buffs. So you can't really use him for tanking. He can't use cover, he does get in the way. He can't equip 2 melee weapons, he can't equip 2 ranged weapons. He has no talents to buff melee or damage resistance being a soldier. He needs to use area weapons to prime his burst fires. To increase his damage with burst fires, he needs to increase his rate of fire. He does not have access to the items that increase his rate of fire. So Ulfa not only got nothing from this DLC, he's still the worst companion in the game. Luckily with DLC 2, they said they're going to be looking to see what they can do with him, and they'll be looking in 1.4 to possibly balance and improve him. If we get that, it remains to be seen, but as it stands, Ulfa got nothing from DLC. He definitely lost. Lastly, Marazhai, whatever you like to call it, Marzipan for all we care. Assassins prior to the DLC were arguably one of the weakest archetypes in the game, and with the DLC, Assassins in general got massive boosts. You could use the Death Order build with rock swords to multi-hit and do some crazy things. However, Marazhai doesn't have access to rock swords. If he had rock swords, it'd be like, well, bam. Unfortunately, not having access to rock swords, he did, however, get access to other support items. So, yes, so even though he didn't get access to the DLC items, he can now use a lot of the human items that he previously couldn't use, but he doesn't have access to human weapons. Whilst it is a big boost, it's less of a boost for him than it was for Uralid. Uralid was a huge boost because it meant that she got access to the Act 1 operative sniper utilities and tools, which previously she didn't have access to. However, Marazhai just has a lot more access to things that just makes Assassin better. However, he doesn't get the key thing in rock swords, which would have made him the best as it went. But looking at this, Heinrix definitely won the DLC. Kibella came in at a very strong second. Ablard just naturally got better. Idira could have got a whole new playstyle. Well, she does have a whole new playstyle, but you don't really use it. Cassia got nothing, but she's still the second best companion in the game, right after Heinrix, in my opinion. Heinrix can do, I changed the final boss's health to 500 million. Heinrix could still one-turn him. He can basically, on Finest Hour or Daring Breach, he can sacrifice his own HP using Bloody Pact to gain AP, but his attacks fully heal him. So he has infinite AP generation and infinite loops, and every attack he does increases more damage. So the fact that I set the final boss to 500 million HP didn't matter. It still one-turned him, and with great ease, because there was one attack that I did that did over 2 million damage, and then I did another attack where it hurts, 500 million HP boss gone. Heinrix is damn strong. Kibella can do sort of the same with her Blade Dance. So yeah, no, it's very strong companion here. And obviously Ablard, using Malplane Shroud and Vanguard, can do a lot of damage. Even as Executioner, can build up a lot of health if you Medicae stack him. So yeah, no, very strong. Uralid got access to the Act 1 operative support items. For some reason there aren't operative support items Act 2, 3, 4, 5, so she kind of plateaus, but that new support is very helpful. The only real benefit Pascal got from the DLC was Missionary Oath, but that is an entirely new playstyle that opens up to him. Jay got access to an armor that basically gave her a new playstyle with being able to be a Vanguard officer, whilst Vanguard is probably the weakest archetype in the game right now. So she did get some new supports, but nothing really changed. Marazhai, yes, he got access to a lot of new support, which makes his build a lot more easier. With the Death Aura build, he's actually one of the strongest map clearing companions in the game and can generate really high MP as he goes around and does it. But it wasn't as extreme as it could have been. If he also got Rock Swords, he would have been top tier. Argenta, like I said, only really got an Act 1 heavy gun, but it's not really useful and it doesn't really add anything to her game plan. She did get noticeably weaker, so with how much stronger Heinrix got in this, how much stronger Ablard got in this, with Kibella coming in, Kibella essentially replaces Argenta because she's an agility-based character that also does demolition checks. So chances are you end up dropping Argenta from the team, even though she's still just as strong, can still do 15k burst damages to the final boss. But it's moved her down where you're going to use him. Ulfa definitely lost. He gained nothing. He's still terrible and he still needs fixing. But that's where we are. So I hope this has given you a little bit of entertainment. I know it's been a bit of a long video, going up 17 minutes. And if you've sat here just staring at this screen when I've not had any footage to show you, thanks, because yeah, I recently cleared all of my archive footage from all my runs because I'm getting ready to start doing some offline testing when it comes to DLC 2. So I'm going to record every fight, so when I do those build videos, I'm going to have a lot of footage to play with. So thanks then. For those who have watched and want to see more, do hang around. And like I said, once we get that DLC 2, I should have all the videos. I'm just going to box put them all out on the first day, and then I'll start doing like new text and new item videos as the week goes on. But all the builds will be ready for day 1, so do look forward to that. Revan out. Have a good one. See ya.